followers of each of these ones that we have considered high quality, that we to be high quality targets. Yeah, okay. So we'll come over into target accounts. And the first thing we want to do is make a relation links up to the source account database, allow linking to one record. You don't really need anything there. So we can skip that. Here we're going to come in, we're going to put in user. Username, full name. Whoa. Number of followers. And make that short. I don't know why I did that. Number. Post. Bio. Link. Profile. Followers. Okay, just minimize that down a little. Bio longer down as well. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here. We could do a separate automation, but I actually prefer not to, because you end up just managing a lot more. When you're working across multiple different workflows, it gets a bit more annoying to manage, in my opinion. The only time it would really be worth doing that is if you need them to run on completely independent schedules, but we don't really need that at this point. We're going to put in a tool here, which is a router. Come down here, we're going to add in another, we're going to do each time this runs. So when the first time this runs, the first time the scenario executes, each time the scenario executes, so when order is number 1, it's going to go down this path. And then that means that we're limiting to only running one time that scenario, which is what we want. Source accounts, and then we attach it to the view scrape users followers, which contains what we have considered to be the higher quality targets. All that information, we'll take 10 of them, and again, I'm going to come back into our API. And we're going to get user followers. Take that. And one upper field I've just seen that we need to have is max ID. So we'll come back into source accounts, and we're just going to add in a new field, max ID. And what this does is it tells our API if we've scraped the first 100 followers, it's a piece of code that says continue on from 100 to 200 followers, then 200 to 300, because it will break it down in chunks. And so it's just telling the API where we last left off. Okay, and then we can come in and delete this code. We run again, it's a GET request. And you'll also notice that the hedges, by the way, are exactly the same as they were before. If we really wanted to, we could right click and then clone and make the adjustments, but just to keep it easier for you guys, I'm just doing it this way until you get a little bit more used to the interface, basically. Value graphic API host, and then we'll take this data and I'll copy the value here. Okay, and then we want a parameter, ID underscore user. And we're going to take the value from here, user underscore ID. That. Copy this. Okay, again, past response. Come in here and run one test. Unable to fetch volume. Interesting. Okay, so it seems like that is a problem with the API itself. Can't use it. Can't use it. It just checking if I took the wrong ID. Okay, ID. I'm quite sure it's this first field. Seems to be test endpoint. I've potentially taken the wrong ID. Which I have. That would make sense. Okay. So and that would also make sense why it was delivered on our next one. So let me run this one more time. Get the new IDs. Okay, so we've got a user ID for all of them now. Right, that's my mistake. Bring that down onto number one. And then if we run a test here, I just want to see the format that they return the data to us in. There we go. Okay. We now have a list of users. We have a list of their followers. And very interesting, like you get access to all types of data when you do this. This is coming back directly from Instagram. They actually have a field now in their API called "Is Possible Scammer." Wow, I haven't come across that before. Account badges empty, so it makes sense to filter that out as well. Okay, okay. Anyway, so let's go on to the first thing that we want to do is update our. We want to update this of our Max ID. First thing. I'm going to update source account. We're going to provide the record ID. And then the Max ID that they gave to us here, we're going to add in there. And then the next thing we want to do is going to apply an iterator. And an iterator is going to process through each of these results. So we have 100 users here. Integromat normally would process through one and then finish, but we want to iterate through each of the records in the response. And we're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to search records because I want to make sure that we don't have any duplicates. So I'm going to go into target accounts. We're going to build a formula here. Username. And we're going to add username. So we want to make sure that there's no duplicates with the same. If there are no duplicates, we're going to create a record. So we had a filter here. If ID does not exist, so if it's not able to find anyone with the same username, we will go ahead and create another record. Here we're going to come in and create, and we're going to do source account is this. Sorry. This. Make sure it's linked to that one, not to this one. And then we just literally just paste in the other information from here. So full name, followers in there, profile picture. And then we can get the other fields as well, private and verified, actually quite useful fields for us. In fact, let me add those in. Private verified. Yeah. Okay. It is private and it is verified. We can check there. And then there's a few other filters I want to put in, which I'm going to edit here. So is possible scammer. I don't like the sound of targeting anyone like that. Not equal to true. Very easy way would be false. And I also want to do has anonymous profile picture equal to false. So that means if you know like the gray avatar icon that shows on Instagram, like if people have the default profile picture, of course we're not interested in targeting people At least I'm not. Perhaps you are, but I want to filter them out. Um, if it matches, sorry, that should be in more. An or filter. If it matches either of those criteria, um, yeah, they won't go through. Da, 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 da. And then the only other thing that we could do is maybe a bit more interesting, add a router. In fact, that means I need to move that over. 10 ID exists. Then what we could do is, so in fact, I'll come onto that in a second, because I don't want to get too confusing. Okay, cool. We'll come onto that after. So now again, just to run you through the scenario, this is getting the Instagram followers. And then on the third time this scenario runs, each time we're going to go down this path and we are going to extract the followers, which is what this is doing, of our target profiles, of these profiles. Just something to split screen here will be a bit easier. Yeah, we're going to extract the target followers of these profiles. We're going to update that it has been extracted here under next max ID. This field will be updated. And then we're going to process through each of those results as long as they're not a possible scammer according to Instagram and they don't have an anonymous profile picture. We're going to check that it doesn't already exist in our database. And then we're going to, as long as they don't exist in our database, we're going to create a record. And what we're going to build after that is if it does exist in our database, for example, if one person is following this account and this account, we will add that in because it would be considered a good target for us. Let's run this and just make sure everything is working. I'm moving to target accounts. Interesting. Sorry. Does not use. Might filter the wrong way around. So yeah, as long as it does not exist, then we will go ahead and create that record. So now this should work. Here we can see records are being added in. We're getting profile pictures added in. And you can see it's also linked up here back to the main account, so we can actually see where this account was brought in from. And then we can do something. For example, we can hide this field because we really need to see it. We can do like a roll-up. Where username is not empty. Counts the number of non-empty values. So here we have 33 profiles from this from this page. And the other thing that we are maybe interested in is total account straight, private accounts, and private. We got an error here. What was it? 503 error from Airtable means service unavailable. That is interesting error. You'll see our duplicate function is working because we've already scraped the first 33 records. They're not being added because our duplicate checker is finding them. And after 33, yeah, you see they're starting to be added in again now. So you see why it's so important to have that duplicate checker function. And so now maybe to clean this up a little bit, we could group by source account as we start to scrape other pages as well. This will be a lot cleaner. The only other reason that you may want to include profiles that have an anonymous profile picture is so that we can do some type of analysis in here to kind of check how high quality of a target is that actual page. So yeah, here we have scraped. We have 100 profiles and 100 of them made it into our audience. So it means every single profile there had a profile picture, which actually means that this is a great target, like a really, really good target. In fact, I may even turn that filter off just for the purpose of a demonstration. But now you can see like this is grouping in Airtable. So we've started scraping our second profile, and this contains, yeah, it's matching by source. Counts non-empty. Sorry, private. Private contains true. Okay, so we can see now this is quite interesting data. On this page, we have scraped 100 profiles and 49 of them are private. So 49% of the profiles are private. And here we scraped on this page 100 profiles and only 7 of them are private, which is a huge, huge difference. Interesting. And if we did want to display that as a percentage, private. And then way of structuring. Yeah, there we go. 49% private percentage, private number. I would even just hide that field now. So yeah, it should only 7% of those profiles are private and 51% here. Interest. Do you see what I mean about how you can kind of speed data up and give yourself like a higher level overview in this dashboard here? Whereas in like target accounts, it's just kind of like raw data. There's 300 records here. And you don't even really need to look in here. You can just kind of do analysis at like a much higher level in like the main database. You could also look at building out something like a gallery, perhaps. Just going to exit. Yeah, we could build out like a gallery overview of each of our target profiles. So we don't really care about that, but to see total accounts rate, the percentage that are private. Yeah. And we can also add in like followers greater than 1,000. We can add in some interesting things now. Followers less than 100. So this is just about us like kind of dissecting our targets to see which ones are actually good and fine. Followers less than, let's say, 250. $250 to 500 followers. The reason these are all empty is because we haven't started scraping the followers just yet. Don't worry, nothing's going wrong. 500 to 1,000. And again, like, you know, you could change these criteria, of course, kind of based on your preferences. So depending on the type of profiles you're trying to target, generally I would be looking around this range, maybe up to 2.5K at a max. And so yeah, this is just a really nice way to establish the quality of the audience. 500 to 1,000 followers. Sorry. State. Then we'll do 1,000 to 2,500. Okay, and maybe 2.5 to 5K, and then we'll just leave it at that. But like I said, just kind of, you can put this in to match your requirements. But at least this gives us like a nice audience breakdown of each of the targets that we've put. 2,500, 5K. And finally, 5K from us. generally I wouldn't really target unless you're doing like an influencer specific campaign target. I wouldn't really target people with 5K plus followers. Rated that by 5 followers. Okay, there we go. So if we come into our database, we have 491 accounts, which is actually, it means that all the targets we picked are very high quality. As a profile picture. I think I may actually remove that. Just to give you, normally I wouldn't, but just to give you an idea of how we could also analyze how good of a target audience someone is. Avatar profile picture. Let's also just turn these into make the database look a little bit nicer. Put that as a warning sign, if anything. Avatar profile picture, checkbox as well, and we can also set that as a red flag. Cool. So, and yeah, I know this happens sort of out by group at the moment. So we can call this like scraped followers. I would call it a dump, almost. This is where we just dump the data in. And then probably what I would look at doing is some type of built-in filtering in Airtable. Okay, so okay. If you want a few of the filters that I would normally use, again, this is kind of going to depend on who you're looking at targeting and reaching out to. With most of the clients that I work with, they're looking at targeting people within the Western world. So you can look at doing something like a list of top 1,000 Indian names. I'm not racist at all, by the way. This is purely just based on client requests. But yeah, we can just go ahead and put in like top 100 first names in India. You know, clearly not Western names. This is just a logical move to do if our client is saying that they want to target people in the US. We can come over here and we can start putting in, filter out. In fact, I would split them like this. I would do one for username and one for first, one for username and one for full name. So for example, we could put username does not contain Priya, for example. As an example. And then we can do, and full name does not contain, what was number 2? Hanya. Hanya doesn't sound like a very Indian name, in fact, but anyway, so we would go through and do that, and you would basically, you would add in these conditions. You can put in hundreds of them, so we can, the reason that we do this is because we want to eliminate wasting our API credits further down the line for profile analysis and for image analysis as much as possible, because it gets expensive. So anyway, based on this data that we have here, anything that we can do to kind of filter out the cheaper, to filter out the targets that we are not interested in is going to be much better. So we started off with 492 targets. I will be completely honest, these targets are really quite good because, like I mentioned in the first place, they were smaller targets. Like if we had a client who wanted to target women, we would always set them on a yoga studio. I would say there's about 70% female followers here. It's a great target. And if you see here as well, So the other thing that's great is we have found some other yoga studios. So our client's target is, in this hypothetical situation, is yoga studios, which is why we found them in the first place, and we now have a few more listed here. So I'm going to show you how we work with that shortly. Okay, but anyway, we've got 492 records here, and I want to minimize the amount of money that we spend on further analysis. So I'm going to limit by, we don't want to target private accounts. Again, like you can do the name targeting and so on. Like the other way to do it is if you wanted, it doesn't really work as well, but the best way is to filter out names. Let's say that you wanted to target Western names specifically. Just go and Google a list of the top 1,000 Western names. If you wanted to target females specifically, but there's two ways to do it. You could search for the top 1,000 male names and add them all in to exclude all male names. Or you could also do only target the top 1,000 female names. The top 1,000 female names is going to be more accurate, but you're going to get less results. And by excluding male names, it's going to be less accurate, but you will get a much larger data set to work with. So it just depends on your kind of personal inclusion parameters and how accurate and how large of a data set you want. Okay, on to the next one. Let's see. I personally don't like it when the full name is empty. It's generally a lower quality account is empty. I would also do private is false. I would also do verified is false. Sorry. So I've got it down from 492 to 357, which is like a 25% reduction, just under. So it's already like a good improvement. You have to imagine if this is on like a larger scale, on like a larger data set, that would just saved us like 25% of our API fees, essentially. And anything else to filter out? I would often filter out numbers in names as well. Username does not contain 0. Yes. Also, maybe you've seen those funny profiles. Like if someone has 1 underscore, I think it's fine. But when you get the profiles that have like 2 or 3, I think generally it's a pretty safe assumption to assume that they're getting lower and lower quality account. What type of high quality person follows an account that has like 10 underscores in it? 7. Yeah. Any other targets that we want to get rid of? Like we could also look at filtering out things like events and retreats in the full name or app. Depending on the type of people that we want to target, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. We will say that we will continue on with these ones, and we'll scrape the followers of them. And then that is when this data here will start to be populated. Issue. Private. Here we go. Private and private. Okay. So, and we can even come and look at sorting by quality. So these three are really good targets. These two, not too bad. Like 50% is actually kind of average, but these two seem to be for a really good audience. Okay, interesting. Come back over into Integromat, and we're going to add on another part to our flow here, which is going to be Airtable, search records, system. If we come into target accounts here, and we're going to go into, we only want to fill in records in our view here, sorry, in our view here. Take all of that information as well, and we can copy this instead of I want to get their followers and their usernames, sorry, their followers and their bio, sorry, their bio and their post and their followers and their following and everything like that. And we've already used that API up here. So I can just clone it down here. And I just want to change the username. Change the username to this. And then just to get the data, I'm going to run it once. And yeah, of course, like we could just go back in here, copy all the stuff and do it again, but why do we need to when you can just copy and paste in Integromat? And here we'll go ahead and update a record. Come back into our Instagram targeting system, target accounts. Record ID is going to be this. And here we can come in and update everything. Follow account, following. Media. Link. That's bio. Okay, and yeah, should be good. And then again, I only want to run it. If you see we're pulling 5 records each time, if I don't put in that filter, it means this will run 5 times. I don't really want to do that. We'll put a bundle order position to 1, so it only runs once. And then we are going to change it to grab. Yeah, okay, we'll take 1,000 records. Why not? Fast responses on. Run this scenario. The first it will go up here, and then it will go along here. Mm-hmm. And that off the now. Yeah, now it's going to run down, and it's going to populate all of our count we have here with their followers, their bio, a link if they have one, and everything else. So So now again, we have this next set of data, and just whilst that's scraping, I'm going to start to build a couple of things, quality. Formula. Give my recently used emojis. It's not from personal use, it's from working in the OnlyFans business. Followers following. What the fuck? If followers. Airtable formulas are. I'm not bad at them, but it's definitely my. Yeah. I think that's fine. Yeah, sorry, I knew I was pretty much there. Yeah, so actually quite a lot of low quality. Yeah. I'm just going to change that to a green check mark because it's a bit more distinct. Um, but yeah, what that is telling us is that they are following more people than they have followers, which I would consider to be a low quality, uh, a low quality account. Yeah. And so we also don't need to apply any of the other filters that have been done here because this is only going to have a green check mark if it's already passed all of these filters here. So each stage kind of automatically filters out the next. They'll only make it through to this stage of the process if they have already passed the existing criteria that we have already put in. Okay, so I'm just gonna put in a high quality target. Mm. Sorry, wrong way around. Yes, now you'll see even when I make mistakes after sitting here for years. Normally on the most basic stuff as well, which is even more funny. That can be filtered. Um, okay, so now you can kind of see what the whole purpose of this exercise was. Let me just put it in the maybe easier to digest if it's here. So 100 accounts scraped, 35% of those are considered to be 36% are high quality targets. On this account, 20% of those are high quality targets matching our target criteria so far. These ones are zero just because they haven't been scraped yet, although the private rate is already much, much higher. So what this kind of means is what you'll start to figure out as well is that paying for the APIs and all of the services isn't cheap. So whether you're doing this yourself or you're doing this for a particular client, just in this, whatever, half an hour, 45 minutes in sitting here, these two accounts look very similar to start off with. They're both yoga studios in San Francisco, relatively similar in size, audience isn't that different. However, this account has 2 times as many high quality targets compared to this one, based on the data we have so far. Yeah, you can also see that they have a much higher range in terms of the followers that are between 500 to 1,000 followers, which is generally a pretty good audience. This one has 28, and this one only has 6. It's actually 4x better in that specific area that would be considered high quality targets. So again, we're only doing this on a small scale at the moment. We've got 5 accounts in here, right? But we'll go ahead and populate this with thousands of accounts, or like even hundreds of different target accounts, and it will be very, very transparent to us who's shit and who isn't, who are the good pages for us to be targeting, and who are the ones that aren't as good to be targeting. And this, even in itself, can be turned into a service. By the way, I do get quite a lot of people asking me for Instagram targeting systems. So if you can take a list of someone's competitors, plug it into this database, just run the script, extract a data set of like 100 followers from each of them. We can run it again and we can go and extract 200 or 300 followers from each of these targets just to give us a bit of a wider data set and a bit more of a fairer test. Then you can go back to the client, saying that this target is 2 times, has a 2 times higher quality audience than this one, almost 4 times higher than this one. And bearing in mind they all look very similar, if we actually look at where we started off, the follower range and so on of all of these, they're all in a relatively similar range. Bios are pretty similar. So yeah, just kind of an initial use case, and what it means is we'll go ahead and mark this one as a low quality one. For example, for us to get a load of high quality, a very high quality audience from this page compared to this one, we would need to use 4 times as many API credits. And even on this one, we would still need to use 2 times more. So I wouldn't disregard this one altogether. But it just kind of gives you an idea of an interesting way of utilizing this system. And bearing in mind they all look very similar, if we actually look at where we started off at, follower range and so on of all of these, they're all in a relatively similar range. Bios, pretty similar. So yeah, this is like just kind of an initial use case. And what it means is we will go ahead and mark this one as a low quality one, for example. For us to get a load of high quality a high quality audience from this page compared to this one, we would need to use 4 times as many API calls, API credits, and this one we would still need to use 2 times more. So I wouldn't disregard this one altogether, but yeah, it kind of just gives you an idea of one way of utilizing this system. I'm going to go and take a quick break and have some lunch, and then we'll continue with this.